All right, Harbor Freight guys, what do you think about the titanium 170 MIG flux welder running on 110 or 220? It sticks two pieces of metal together, and that's all I wanted to do, and it's done it. I have had this for probably about 2 to 3 months and put about 12 pounds of wire through it. Now we've only running it on the FluxCore wire, running .03, and never welded before officially. So we're looking, this is a review of someone that doesn't know what they're doing. But everything we've welded so far together has been tortured and abused, and happy with the way that it's turned out. Looking kind of the projects where just minor trailer repair, whether it be lights or spare tire bracket, something that's non-load bearing, of course, until we get our skill a little bit better and figure it out. A lot of people don't like FluxCore or don't understand it. I don't either, and I don't know what to compare it to, but I like it because I've never used anything else. One of these days we'll get a gas bottle and we'll put the run gas through it and run regular wire through it, not the flux shield. But today just kind of want to show you a few things that we've done, a few projects, a little bit of playing that we've done with it and enjoyed it so far. So let's get to it. All right, let me grab a project that we've done. Not really a project, more or less just scrap playing. I had an old trailer receiver and then some 1.25 or however thick it is, but it slid in perfectly. Just trying to figure out some welding skills, kind of play with it. And temperature and the settings on this is very easy to manipulate and fine tune if you're looking to, if it's not running hot enough. Now, not knowing a whole lot, I have found that it's a lot easier to weld a little bit thicker metal versus thinner metal. The thicker don't seem to burn through as quickly and as easily, and to me it seems a little bit more forgiving. So what I'll kind of show you real quick is a close up on a few of the welds that we did on this piece. Just kind of connecting this old trailer ball receiver hitch that we cut up. Let's see, get some light, better light on it. And here we go, kind of little side view. It wasn't cutting in too much. It was more or less just kind of stacking on there. From what I could tell and from watching other people's videos, that it really seemed to do pretty well. And a few other little projects we've done. Let's see here. So kind of looking at this, very happy with the way that these turned out. And we'll go to the other end, that just kind of playing. Let's see if it'll focus any better. There we go. I don't know if those are good welds, bad welds, but just kind of playing with it. Been happy with it. This is probably like the second or third piece that we welded, or that I welded together using the titanium 170. We looked at a couple different ones, and from the looking at different welders, we had a budget of about $500 that we could spend to make it a worthwhile investment, but also not spend money to waste money. Running a small business, it's dollars and dollars and dollars add up, and don't have much to throw away when it comes to tools that could possibly mess up or not last. So everybody knows the Harbor Freight warranty, 90 days. This titanium welder falls underneath that. We picked it up on one of their sales. I believe we paid, I want to say it was like $425 for the actual welder itself, and then put the, what was a coupon they had, go figure, Harbor Freight and coupons, they always have them, and It seemed to be a little bit special, better deal for the welder than normal. I think normally they run like $4.99, and they had a coupon for $4.49, and then we had some other coupon that made it about $4.25, if I remember correctly. It's been a few months ago, and many rentals went out since then, and numbers all kind of come together. But with the 2-year warranty added on top of it, it was right at $500. I'm not going to do the unboxing, but kind of what comes with it is everything you need to weld, minus proper PPE. And so you'll need a hood and gloves of some sort. Or if you don't like your sight and you don't like your hands, you don't need either one of them. And if you need a good suntan, you can just use it without the PPE. Don't recommend it. So we been very, very happy with it. Kind of show you a couple projects that we're working on with using the welder. This piece of scrap, I referenced it just because it was a piece that was sitting around, and I was happy with the way that it looked, finished product. There's some welds that I've done that don't look all that great, but I'm learning a couple months into it, and for non-structural or super weight bearing items, I've been happy with it, and just learning a new craft. The welder is sitting on top of the racing lawnmower go-kart that we're working on. We're working on it and learning, so that's how we're going to justify the purchase of the welder. It's a learning process, and we need something to weld, and a go-kart / racing lawnmower conversion is going to be perfect learning for that. So I'm going to kind of take the camera, show you guys a couple different welds that I've done with it. There'll be a little bit of live welding here with the camera, a couple different little projects. I'll take the camera and walk you guys around. All right, so come out here to look at a couple little small projects that I've used this titanium 170 welder for. A couple of them I took my time, and a couple of them I just kind of glued them together. Didn't really care too much. But on this first one, I'll show you. We put a spare tire bracket on the 2019 PJ equipment hauler we send out on rent, and so kind of give you a little bit of a close-up on the welds, how they turned out. Thought it turned out halfway decent. Took my time on this one. However, you can tell my inexperience shows on welding. So, but overall, happy with the way it turned out, and so far, haven't had any issues with it. Now, people always say welding upside down is always the best way to weld. That's a joke. I haven't had much success with it, and welding in small weird angles. And it kind of shows on this spare tire, or excuse me, not spare tire, but the receiver hitch that we put on there. Kind of getting in some of these harder to reach areas was definitely interesting, and trying to figure that out. So, but you know, for what people say a FluxCore welder is and how it works, is definitely happy with how that happened. This is a little project trailer picked up for pretty cheap, and just basically picked it up, kind of straightened up a few things, and used it. Gonna basically sell it. The whole goal in that one was just to make $1 in the slow season. So kind of show you a couple things on this trailer that we did. So, and I have some video of actually welding this one, and I didn't paint it, I just left it out here, and then it rained. So kind of did that one, and then this right here, this bracket, or this rear ramp, didn't have that section on it. It was missing. So kind of show you a couple little things there. So kind of found some scrap tube, put it in there. More or less on this one, just kind of slapped it together, and you can definitely see right there that it's not the prettiest of welds, but I was just trying to get it in there and make it happen. So what we did on this trailer right here is we cut the lights off from down low, moved them up higher. These little junk trailers, notorious for the light brackets falling off. So just to kind of help the next owner, we just put them up higher. That way they wouldn't have to go through it. This weld is not the best, but I just kind of putting it up there. It's non-structural. It doesn't really matter as long as the two pieces glue together to a degree. And kind of telling you, I don't know how good of a welder I am, but everything that we've had so far has stuck to the two pieces together. And the kind of what made me happy is we put another spare tire bracket on this other trailer over here, and walk into it, and went to New York to get some from Tennessee to New York to pick up some freight from overseas, and come back, and the customer goes, "Hey, I'm sorry about this. The forklift kind of bumped into it. It bent a little bit." And so I was like, well, let's just kind of look at it and see what's going on. And it survived. So what we got right here is this spare tire holder. Now let's scoot back a little bit. You can kind of see that it is kind of kicked back, and that's after bending it back in line. But I'm just kind of looking at the welds and how that did. This was the first thing that I picked up and started welding on. So this is the first project from with the titanium 170 welder, and there's definitely some decent welds on it and some non-decent welds, but definitely tried to do a good job. But when you don't know exactly what you're doing, you kind of just go with it. So that was an ugly but decent one. This one up in here is an ugly-ish but decent one. But needless to say, the customer said that they were putting a big skid on there, and whenever the forklift was backing out, one of the forks, or the mast to the forklift, had caught the tire and bent it around. And with that being said, I was happy that it at least survived and didn't have any issues once whenever it came back, and I was able just to kind of heat it up, bend it back, and put the tire back on it, and it worked properly. So kind of a few questions that I had whenever I was looking, or a few questions that people asked me whenever I was on the Facebook Harbor Freight thing. Is a couple people asked me, how did I have any issues with wire speed? Did I have any issues with the welder itself? And I have not. I read the instructions, especially on things I don't know. I research stuff, so that way, whenever I do actually come down to using something, then I know that I did it right, and I know everything's hooked up right. I know with the FluxCore wire, some people switch the negative and the positive around, and it doesn't work correctly. Some people have commented that the ground clamp on this one is subpar. It might be, but I don't know any difference. So just kind of a quick kind of zoom around of the actual welder itself. And so here we have it, nice and green. You see that kind of garage, and it's too bright outside, and it's not wanting to focus in. It's not wanting to focus in on the front of the welder. So here we go. So the front of the welder, we have our wire speed right here, and we have our amperage right here, our heat, and then our inductance, which is this is supposed to be how thin or thick your puddle is on your welding wire whenever you're running it. I've noticed a difference playing with this. It does make it thicker, or the puddle thinner or thicker. When I switched over from running 210, when I switched over from running 110 to 220, I noticed a big difference on it. Didn't really have much of a problem with it tripping the breaker. I had a 20 amp breaker on the 110, so didn't have much problems with it tripping. It did trip a couple times whenever I was trying to run it real hot on there. The best thing I did was wire in the 240 plug out here, and have not had an issue running on 220 with it tripping on anything. I think if I remember correctly, on 110 it pulls somewhere around 22 amps, and then on 220 it pulls 26 or 27 amps. And so I had 55 amps coming out here to the shop, and I've got LEDs out here. So whenever I measured it, I was running with the lights on and the fridge plugged in. I had 55 amps pulled over, so I'm no electrician, but 55 minus 26, I still had roughly 20 amps to spare, and I didn't think it was going to mess it up. Now, I could be wrong. I would suggest contacting your local guy to figure out your local electrician to figure out if you can do it and have them do it. Don't do anything like this by yourself. I don't take any credit for you. Side note, I was talking with another small business owner the other day, and we were kind of talking about how everybody thinks that since we own our own business and work for ourselves, we have all kind of abundance of money. It's far from the truth. We're just out here trying to make a dream come true, and been blessed to be able to be self-employed, or as I tell my wife, unemployed, because I get to hang out and meet new people and get paid to do it. And that's the funnest part. That's what I enjoy most about being self-employed, is just meeting new people, and it doesn't feel like work ever to me. Sorry, ramble, sidetrack. So kind of show you a couple of the insides of this welder. Now that I've rambled about electricity and whatnot. So I've got the big boy plug, or the 10-pound spool in there of FluxCore. I can't remember if that's Lincoln or Vulcan, but got it in there, everything tuned in. With this, all the dials and all the functions seem to work really well. Everything, all this is cast. This knob right here is a plastic knob on the outside, but it's got metal on the inside. This top handle is all plastic. I don't know how it compares to the other ones, but most of it, all this is metal in here. So right up here is where you can switch over to your spool gun. It is ready, or hooked up, ready for a spool gun. I don't know what that means, but it's ready for it. I'm using the MIG FluxCore setting because that's what I'm doing. Up here was that chart that I was telling you guys about, and it works really well. I have a tendency to want to run things a little bit hotter and a little bit slower, and that just that's how what I've found to kind of work with me. But this has been a great reference chart for what I use. And up here, this is for the 120 volt, 220, 240, and then here's your rated duty cycles. I have not had any issues with welding non-stop on this. So those are good guidelines. However, like whenever I've noticed that I'm welding, is I'm not welding a 14-foot bead. I'm not laying a 14-foot bead all at once. So with that being said, I haven't had any issues with running the welder and going outside its duty cycles. But I have kind of just ran it just to see how long I could do it, and I just got tired of holding the trigger down and trying to keep track of what's going on. Most of the time, the 6 inches or a foot is the biggest section of metal that I'm going to weld in one continuous cycle. But I think I've rambled on enough about it. I'm happy with this purchase. I think a lot of people getting into hobby welding, home welding, any kind of thing like that, trying to just learn a new craft, learn a new hobby, I think you guys will be very happy with this purchase. Didn't want to spend the money and then be frustrated and said, I wish I would have bought a Miller or a Lincoln or bought one used. Since I didn't know a whole lot about welding, I wanted to buy it new. So that way I know it's new and I know everything has been done to it. If it's missing a part, I didn't want somebody to just take advantage of me because I didn't know what I was getting into. So I've been very happy with it. For under $500, I'd say I'd buy about 5 more of them if I needed it. Very pleased with it. Alrighty. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed the review on this Harbor Freight Titanium 170 welder. Very, very happy with it. Have any other questions on it, feel free to drop a comment. I'll see what I can do to help you guys. And from an unexperienced, unprofessional guy with welding, it works. It sticks two pieces of metal together, and that's all I wanted to do, and it's done it. Alrighty. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.